You are listening to Veterans Action Report on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you live from St. Paul, Minnesota.
And I'm Andrew Canales, coming to you live from Evergreen, Colorado.
Every day, veterans are struggling with many issues spanning from homelessness to mental health crisis, often leading to 22 veterans a day taking their own lives. There are veterans all around the U.S. leading the fight to help guide our brothers and sisters to a better life. We will bring you stories from all around the country telling tales of veteran struggles and triumph. Every episode benefits veteran-run nonprofits Warriors Next Adventure, helping veterans fight PTSD through recreational therapy and new adventures. And Houses for Warriors, helping solve the homeless crisis, leading veterans to a better lifestyle. Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Veterans Action Report on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Thanks again to KGRA for giving us this time slot. This is a community service section for KGRA, and they don't charge us anything. So this has been massive for Warriors Next Venture and Houses for Warriors for us to be able to get our voice out there and just kind of, let people know what's going on in the veteran community. As always, we have a bunch of different veterans on, either veteran entrepreneurs, athletes, authors, all kinds of cool guests that have something to bring to the veteran community. And today's guest is going to be Stacey. So she's awesome. We actually did, I think, the second podcast of Warriors Next Adventure podcast was with Stacey. The audio was awful. The video was awful. And so like, this is kind of like a redemption kind of thing. So just to fill you guys in on everything that's going on, Warriors Next Adventure, we're still working on the street stock. We're almost done with that race car. We're going to have a total of 5 race cars this year. We're going to have 2 street stocks, a pure stock, a Hornet, a super stock, and we also have, my board member has a sprint car. We don't touch that car because that car's a little too spendy for us, and I'm not dealing with that. We're still looking for sponsors. We recently got sponsored by Cedar Inn Bar and Grill in Minneapolis, and we stopped by and had some wings there, and they're phenomenal. I'm not just saying that because they're our sponsor. They're actually pretty damn good, and they're giant. We're also sponsored by Rip It Energy, which you can go to any Dollar Tree, and they're sitting there like $1.25 or something like that. You can also go to ripitenergy.com and you can get anything shipped to you or to your house directly. I've been drinking, I think I had like 3 of these today, so I'm a little wired, but they're delicious. You know what I'm saying? Those heart palpitations just let you know that you're still alive. Also go check out Houses for Warriors. Andrew's doing all kinds of good shit over in Colorado, and they have a group home. For those of you that don't know about Houses for Warriors, they have a group home and they actually provide housing for veterans. They were supposed to go through a program called HUD-VASH, but because they have house rules, like you're not allowed to drink and, you have to stay sober, which seems pretty reasonable to me. They got disqualified for HUD-VASH. However, they did a fundraiser and Andrew actually raised like $60,000 to pay for this house for the whole year. So these veterans' rent is paid for the full year, which is amazing. His goal is to get them out of there within like a month or 2. And I think he's already graduated 2 guys out of the program, which is fantastic. Now these guys have their own place. So go check out House for Warriors and Warriors Next Adventure. That's the nonprofit that I run, is Warriors Next Adventure, and Andrew runs House for Warriors. So Andrew's going to be on here in a couple weeks. I don't know exactly when, but we'll figure it out here soon. My next week's guest is going to be Bryant from Fight or Die. And then we have Zach Pennington on the 27th. Guitar player, tattoo artist, just regular pen artist. Oh my God, his art is absolutely fantastic. I'll make sure he comes on and has some info for everybody. So, all right, we're going to bring on Stacey from Recreation Experiences, and she can talk a little bit more and fill you guys in on what she's doing. So, Stacey, how are you?
Hi, good, Nick. How are you?
Wonderful. It's been a good 3 years since we did this last.
Yes, and you've done phenomenally since then. I mean, it's just
Thank
great fun to watch you on Facebook and all the great things you're doing.
Thank you. It's definitely evolved much farther than I ever expected it to be. And with the amount of people that told me that, I'm an idiot for starting a nonprofit because I don't know what I'm doing, those are the guys that back me 100% now. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, no hard feelings. Nice. It's okay, right? I still rub it in their face every once in a while, but
you have to remind them. Believe in Nick. He's good. He's gonna make it happen.
I got goals. I got dreams. I got shit to do. So let's go.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. And you were in the military. When did you serve?
I came in '99, as most of us do right out of high school. I became a medic and served for 9 years. Half of those years I was teaching combat medicine. And when I got out, I continued to teach combat medicine as a civilian. And I did that with the Army and the flight medics and contract. And now I'm a contract medic back in with the military as a paramedic. And so, in this 20-year service of being a medic for the military, I went to school, as we do. We all have our Montgomery GI Bill, and I got my master's degree in recreation administration and therapy. So now I'm a licensed recreation therapist. I have my own company. I do subcontracting right now for, there's a lot of services in Texas for special needs adults. And we forget about them sometimes. They're not just kids, they grow up and now they need help. And what I found is that a lot of our special needs adults have the same constructs we do as non-special needs adults, and it's just more apparent with them. And so I'm learning a lot from them. I've only been doing this for about 2 years now, and I'm learning a lot. And so I've been consulting the veteran community and the first responder community only, because basically most of them can go on hikes and such on their own. But I'm trying to branch into more like retreats and stuff, because some of them won't have the energy to go hike in the middle of a forest somewhere. And that's really beneficial for everybody.
Well, I appreciate that. Being a father of a special needs daughter, she's probably going to need that kind of stuff in the future. So that's pretty cool that you're working with those guys.
Yes.
So what's the name of your company?
It's Recreation Experiences. I dropped the E and just started with the X. So the initials are RX. A lot of people don't realize that recreation is medicine for us. And so my supervisor, when I was still a student, she has a similar company there in Bozeman, and her initials are RX also. And so it's kind of a play on words. And she pushes it, and she does adaptive ski, and she does retreats for women who are in millionaire companies, who are very high up on the chain, who are very stressed out. And so she's got it going on. She's private pay. She doesn't charge insurances. And that's kind of the way I'm going to. I'm going to go private pay and then not for profit eventually, so I can get on with the VA, because the VA actually is the number one recreation therapist business is the VA. And so they're the ones who actually started the program. They started the licensing with a veteran. So all this stemmed from us in the VA. So we need it. And
that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. So that's actually, I don't do insurance through Invoke Change either. So with the life coaching that I do, and then I also teach motivational speaking. So I found that even attempting to look at insurance stuff, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's a pain. And then it puts the client in a bind if the insurance companies decide not to pay. And so it's just not fair for we're trying to alleviate stress. We don't want to add stress.
Sure. Yeah. And it's taken me a long time to be okay with charging people for what I do. I've had enough people tell me I'm an idiot for not charging people for what I do. And it's like, well, I'm never going to stop doing it for free for vets. So I was like, but I need to survive, and I'm not trying to be a carpenter again. Nothing against carpenters. I love to be a carpenter. It's just, it doesn't fill my cup anymore. So
right. Exactly. No, and that's how, and you can teach others in carpentry through recreation therapy, and that may help. So
yeah, I'm actually finishing up my garage. I finally got everything fixed. I got my table saw, my chop saw, and a bunch of other stuff set up. And then my garage was a nightmare in the winter time. And we had I want to say about a month ago, we had a crazy rainstorm. It was still winter, but it was raining like crazy, and everything froze like immediately. And there was like a lip of snow right next to my garage, and all that rain froze, and so all the water rushed into my garage, and I had a good inch or two of water of ice in my garage. You could skate in my garage.
Did you hurt any of your tools?
Oh my God. So I was working on a car, and I never do this, but I left my Milwaukee drill on the ground, and it froze into the ground. I had to wait for it to dethaw to pull it out. Luckily it still works, but
that's so lucky. Hey, that's some marketing right there for Milwaukee.
Hey, Milwaukee tools are the shit. I love my tools. I go to Home Depot, and I sit in that Milwaukee section way too often. I have an addiction. So
that's funny. That's really funny.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and what recreational therapy is.
So, what we do is we combine social work, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and fun. And we put it all into one ball and we do whatever that the client or the patient's goals are. Like, let's say, for instance, you're in the military and you play basketball, you lose your leg for whatever reason, you still want to play basketball. Well, we're going to help you how, to do it on top of your physical therapist and your occupational therapist. We're going to take you out there and play ball with you. If you become wheelchair bound, we're going to teach you how to play basketball in that wheelchair. Now, what I do is I'm more on the mental health side of it because I work with special needs. And special needs guys they do have physical disabilities, like my cerebral palsy guys. They love the pool, but most of them, it's a mental block. And I don't mean like a mental disability. I mean like a block. Like there's a wall in front of you that you can't scale for whatever reason. And even if you are physically disabled, sometimes there's that block, that mental block that, well, I'll never play basketball again. Well, sure you can. You got a new leg, you got a wheelchair, there's wheelchair basketball, but they don't see that. And so we have to help them through that and show them what's going on, show them how to jump over that wall and get through that mental block. And that's kind of where I focus on. And most of my consults for non-special needs people are how to get over that wall. How is it when I've had 4 knee surgeries? Am I going to go hunting in Colorado for moose next year? How am I going to get through the mountains? Well, let me show you. It's not just physical, it's mental too. It's all combined. And people forget that when you're in the medical world. They forget that your brain and your body are connected. You have to do both, and we do both.
So do you follow epigenetics at all?
No. We just go based on it's very holistic. We go based on what the client or patient wants and needs, and we get a feel, and we just kind of move through the motions on how to get through the walls basically that they want. But everything else, all that other physical adaptations, we don't necessarily do. That's for physical therapy or whoever else. We leave that to them, and then they come to us with okay, here's my mindset, help me do it. So
Nice.
we don't do anything extra. Yeah.
So do you know what EMD? I'm sorry. Do you know what epigenetics is?
I don't. You have to remind me. I've heard of it and we've talked about it, but I don't recall.
Yeah.
I don't
So
use it, so I don't recall.
it's essentially the biology of belief, right? So
Like
long
positive
story
psychology.
essentially, yeah. So epigenetics is essentially the science behind Buddhism, which is crazy, right? So if you stop and think about it, I've been practicing Buddhism
Yes.
since 2016,
Excellent.
and epigenetics is essentially, the way that you think is the way that you live, essentially, right? So whatever gets your thoughts, gets your focus and gets your energy. And when you're so focused on, I'm broken,
You stay
that's how
broken.
you're gonna be. But like
Exactly.
me, when I broke my neck in 2016, they told me I would never fight again. And I was medically healed in a month and I fought 4 months later. Right.
That's excellent.
It's
Yeah.
the biology of belief. If you truly believe that you can overcome something, you absolutely can, right?
Yes.
Within there's certain limitations.
Within
You're not going
reason.
to grow another foot or something like that, but you can always get a replacement.
No. well, and that's that mental block.
Hmm.
We're kind of if you try and push through that wall, that mental block that you have, and you fall, hey, guess what? You have a rec therapist to catch you. No big deal. If you do it by
Exactly.
yourself, you're so scared about your broken piece that something bad's going to happen. It's a mental block. That's what, yeah, it's exactly, same concept, positive psychology. It all intermix and relates. So absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Epigenetics is amazing. If you do you know who Dr. Bruce Lipton is or
No,
Dr. Joe Dispenza?
no.
So those two are like the godfathers of epigenetics, and they dive deeper into it. I
Nice.
I essentially that's essentially what I teach veterans in my own
Wow.
way. Everything that I do is all kind of in my own way because I'm a little stubborn and I don't
Well,
really
if
like
you've
school.
practiced it and it succeeded for you, you teach it the
Mhm.
way that you succeeded in it. So
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, and I always tell people too, like this is not the way, right? This is my way. And
Yeah.
so, if you find something better, wonderful. Please tell me what it is, and we'll work it in. But yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza is absolutely phenomenal. He's got a bunch of different videos talking about epigenetics and mindfulness and thoughts, right? And then I'll actually share one in the comments of this video just because it was so great. Um,
Excellent.
so what was your schooling like? You said you got a master's degree.
Yes, so I tried to do the undergrad dream. We all have that dream. That's what I'm going to be when I grow up. And you get to school and there's 12,000 reasons why it's not going to work. GI Bill only gives you 3 years. You don't have the money to live off GI Bill, on and on and on. And so I went in for commissioning to be a physicist, and it didn't work. It was just too big for my abilities. And so I stayed small. I did the psychology. And when I was in psychology, I realized that the science of people is way more interesting than the science of gravity. And so I was really happy I made that change. And so I did my undergrad. I applied for several PhD programs to be a psych doc. But again, the money wasn't there. The income wasn't there. I needed to work 2 jobs to make ends meet, and 2 jobs in school don't work. And so I finally found an evening program that was a master's program that was 10 times better than just being a psych doc. It was that outdoor experience that we need, because that's why I wanted to go into it. I realized that I taught 100,000 people how to put tourniquets on people's and save limbs, but we didn't teach anyone how to come back from war and live life happily. We didn't teach anybody that. And so I was working I was sponsoring a Purple Heart hunt. I owned a tow truck company for a few years, and I sponsored a Purple Heart hunt, and we had an Army medic who was just devastatedly crippled, I want to say. And he couldn't talk, he couldn't walk, he was a mess, and he wanted to hunt again, but he couldn't get over this mental block. And, between me and the guide, and the owner of the property, we got him to actually ask to shoot a deer again. And the last time that man held a gun, he had to shoot a person that was very young in age, and he had a child the same age, and he couldn't get over that block. And when we put him in front of that 10-point deer, he shot the deer in a heartbeat.
Nice.
And within a month, he was walking without a limp. He was talking without stutter. And he was able to get back to his ranch and work again. 1 month after
The
that.
biology of belief, it's amazing what you can do, right? You just need somebody to
Yeah.
show you a different way of doing it. And that's why what we
Yes.
do works so well.
Exactly.
It's we looked over and we've serviced like 30,000 veterans in the last 3 years. And I still can't believe that's an actual number. I had to redo it like 30 times. I was like, there's no way.
There it is.
But it's absolutely amazing, what's actually happened throughout the years. And so I had a theory, right, involving epigenetics and involving EMDR therapy, right? So
Nice.
I had a theory that hiking is essentially the same thing as EMDR therapy. A couple years later, it was proven at Harvard. They did a study that hiking is very similar, if not better, than sitting down with the EMDR left-right movement. And so I kept pushing the theory, said, why does it have to just be hiking? I think it's literally any experience, right? So I started writing about this, and it's actually going to be in my book, Warrior's Path to Inner Peace.
Perfect.
And I had the theory that any new experience, with a fellow veteran, talking about traumas while doing something that is fun and actually exciting, right? And like the wolf dogs or the race cars, working on race cars, mountain climbing, biking, anything, right? Anything physical. And I
Yes.
started doing my own test, essentially, right? So I started taking veterans hiking while talking about their traumas on our way to the destination. Once we get to the destination, we sit down and I talk about my 6 principles. On our way back from the destination, we talk about where are you going to be in 10 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? We start planning more positive futures. And the next thing you know, every single one of these guys within a month or 2 later reach out to me like, dude, like I did this, I switched my job, I left my girlfriend, right? Which that was a good thing. Not everybody looks at their environment and thinks the people that they surround themselves are toxic.
Yes.
Right? That can greatly affect any kind of healing process of the people that you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. It's actually, I took a recent CEU class through a company called TR School. So a therapeutic recreation school, new company. And it's actually a theory. It's called completing the stress cycle. And when I heard her talk about it, I thought, this is what it's called. It has a definition. This is exactly what you and I and all of us talk about, is when we have that stress just hanging out on our shoulders, we have to do something to bring it all the way back around. And it's to talk about it. It's some kind of physical or creative activity. It's social environment. It's creating goals, having a purpose. Bam, you just completed the whole stress circle.
Yeah.
And you did it. That's exactly what it is.
And that's the
That's
beautiful thing
excellent.
too. When you talk about your traumas a little bit more, they lose a little bit of power every time you talk about it, right? But
Yes.
then when you think about like a VHS tape, the way I explain what I do to veterans is think about a VHS tape, right? The trauma is the original film on the VHS, right? A
Yes.
VHS is a little box looking thing that you plug in. You know, for the people that don't know what a VHS is, it's weird to think about that. There's people that don't know what a VHS is. Um, so what you do is you can record over those, right? The original is always going to be there, right? It gets
Yes.
recorded over, but there's always going to be little pieces of it there, and it's never going to go away. Your traumas will never go away; they will always
Right.
be there,
There.
right? But you can choose how much effect it has over you,
Mhm.
you know. And sometimes when you take a new experience and you tie that onto that, so what you're doing is
Carry
you're
it
pairing
over.
those, and they say all the time, neurons that fire together wire together, and it's an absolute fact that you can actually take some traumas and you can lessen the effects that they have on you.
No, yeah, and that's actually what if you've ever read, and it sounds like you've read everything, because you're super knowledgeable about this stuff, is
I'm
there's
a
a
nerd.
cohort called combat. There's a cohort called the Combat PTSD Strong Star cohort here in San Antonio, and they've been doing this for about 15 years, studying strictly combat related PTSD. And they're finding that other than attrition rate, because veterans don't like to sit on a couch all day and talk about their problems,
Hmm.
that the most useful one is that prolonged exposure therapy, which means they talk about it and then you do something while you're talking about it, which is
Hmm.
exactly. And they never really explain the theory behind it. They just say, "Oh, it works because in theory it works." Well, you just explained it. I mean, you could walk up in front of that whole cohort who's been doing it 15 years and tell them what's up. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, it's
that's how amazing that you all the knowledge that you're gathering is working.
thank
I
you.
mean, it's just great.
Well, I don't like being told what to do, right? And I think that's actually beneficial for me. In like, did you see about me applying to Hamlin University and they denied me?
No,
Okay, so
I heard about it, but I didn't see the whole story.
so I was so pissed, right? So initially, I applied to Hamlin University to their executive nonprofit management course, right? What I
Oh yeah.
already do, right? I've helped create 11 nonprofits. I know what I'm doing. I'm pretty good at it. I actually just got a notification from a Hollywood actor, and he
All
told me that
right.
he finally got his approval, which is wonderful. He's a
That is
veteran,
wonderful.
awesome dude. I hope he shouts me out. I'm not going to say anything because it's not up to me, but um,
That's cool,
and
man.
I'm very well versed at what I do. I help manage multiple nonprofits. I work for I think 6 nonprofits. We partner with like 30, and so I know what to do. But I was trying to take this class to learn like some little inside stuff here and there. No big deal. And when I applied, they said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Ron, you don't qualify for this course." And I'm like, "Look, can I get a call with the director real quick?" I was like, "I'm not like special or anything." I was like, "But I literally do this for a living." And she's like, "Yeah, you don't have a bachelor's degree." And I'm like,
It's just a class. You just want to audit the class. All you want to do is
"Yeah,
audit the class. Yeah, it shouldn't be a
so
problem.
stupid." And
Well,
I
their
even asked
loss.
her, "Let me just sit in with the class. I don't even have to say nothing. I just want to learn a little bit more here and there. I don't care about degrees. I probably have like 240 college credits. I have no degree. So it's like you don't have to have a piece of paper that says you're smart, you know?
No, but everything that you've said to me in the past 30 minutes has been more than what most of my instructors have taught me in master's program.
Yeah.
So, I
Hey,
mean, you have the theory, the experience, and the end results perfectly.
ex- exactly. And then I have all the veterans too.
Yes.
Brenda, I want you to send me an email at warriorsnextadventure@gmail.com and I'll hook you up. Um, But yeah, so by the way, I
Mhm.
shared your Facebook page too, so everybody can see it. So anybody who wants to get to the Facebook page, it's just go ahead and click on that link. It's also in the description, and then you can also contact you. What's your email again? Do you have a basic
That
contact for him?
it's exactly that. It's the recreation experiences that you see on Facebook at gmail.com.
Perfect,
Hmm.
cool.
And
And
I'll
also
have that website up and running, but it's not going to be any different than the Facebook page. It's just going
true.
to be motivational things, what I do, how you can contact me, and that's about it.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't offer anything free
websites are
yet.
dead. Like websites are
Yeah,
dead. I don't do any advertising. I just use it for information. That's all it is. So like if you want to get all the info on Warriors Next Adventure, you can spend a good 30, 45 minutes on my webpage and still not learn everything. Best thing to do is just reach out. But so what do you get out of this? I like to ask people, what do you get out of your job? And, how has it actually helped you?
So what I've realized is that my biggest impact so far is with active duty people who are still young in their career. And so I came back as a paramedic after the 2 years as just a recreation therapist. I came back as a paramedic, and I'm back working with the military here at the lower level schools where they just come into the military right out of basic and now they're in school. And I'm finding that when you talk to these kids about their health, you integrate that portion of their health. And what the Air Force at least has done here in training is they've integrated a mental health doc at every training unit. They've integrated a physical therapist and an athletic trainer at every unit also, along with us paramedics, to make sure that their health is number one priority. It's not about your job or anymore. It's not about that, because we want to keep you forever, right? We want to keep these guys that we put $1 million into as long as we can without breaking them. We don't want them to go to the VA and be broken by the time they're done with their career. We want them to retire, come back, and teach the younger generation now as retirees or GSs or contractors. And some of them are. And so the training units younger are now instilling that, hey, after work, you guys still need to go hiking. You still need to do recreation experiences. And I'm there to say, hey, I'm the medic. If you're scared to talk to behavioral health, you can talk to me. No big deal. Hey, let's go walk up this, high hill, and, talk about what happened, lately they've all been crying, and, the younger generation, they cry and we have no sympathy. And so I give them my doll. Here's your my doll. Tell me more. and then they don't get it till later. It's very funny.
Greg says, what? Total health matters?
Yeah, exactly.
Greg's a chief in the Air Force, so.
Oh, nice.
But yeah,
we're getting young now, Greg. So it's a good change. And even security forces, we ran into those guys on one of the hills one day, and it was an old retired guy who's older than us. And I go, what are you doing for security forces? And he goes, we are changing their initial training to be more cohesive, camaraderie, to be more like, an army unit where they're building each other up instead of tearing each other down. So even the retirees are coming back and bringing it. And they're saying, no, we want more. We want more.
Well, the beauty is there's plenty of people out there, like Sarah just saying she wants to create something. She's over in Virginia. And I just keep, Sarah, what I would say to you is just reach out, reach out to Stacey, talk to her, see how she does it. That's how I learned how to do what I do is I read books. I think I've read like 120 books since 2019. Audiobooks. I don't actually read. I can't read. Not that I can't actually physically, I can read, I can spell and stuff like that, but it's, brain injuries. The funny thing is I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting with a couple of veterans the other day. Yeah. And it was very interesting. And I had never actually been to one before. And, as many people know, I was an addict. I still kind of am. I just changed what I'm addicted to. Like for the longest time.
In your defense, I found that all of us are addicted to something, all of us.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. Is your addiction healthy? For me, it's like somebody called me a serial entrepreneur the other day. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'm addicted to building. I can't stop, and it's hard for me to stop interacting on social media and on my business. I can't help it, but I love it, so I'm okay with it, and my family understands. My girlfriend's super supportive. My kids are super supportive. My daughter loves the Wolves, so she's cool with that. Good. But man, they made me read. Whew, it was rough. Like I sounded like Floyd Mayweather. Like, remember the kid from Billy Madison, the today Junior? Like,
oh yes.
I was so embarrassed. But just goes to prove that you don't have to be like, it's not for everybody. I'm building a business with a guy in New York right now. And he's got, I think he's got a master's degree. He might have a PhD, but he's super educated. And I have no education. It's all just self-taught stuff. And we're building a corporation together. because he
Exactly.
sees me as an equal, right? People need to
Yes.
understand that school isn't for everybody. I'm not telling people not to go to school. Just don't feel bad if that's not your avenue, you know?
Right. And some of the guys, like I talk to these guys and they're barely coming into the military and they're already talking about what they're going to do when they get out because they realize that this program they're in is not going to transfer to civilian world. So what will? And so it's like, well, what do you like in life? What do you like to do for fun? And so we are, and a lot of them are going to like weekend coach classes. Oh, now I'm a coach. Oh, now I'm a nutritionist. Now I'm a this. I can do it now to my buddies. So when I get out, I can do something a little bigger, so they practice while they're in. And it's all holistic health. I mean, all of it. It's all holistic health. These guys are obsessed
Yeah.
with their health, and it's just phenomenal. I mean, we're going to grow a whole force of healthy veterans that want to continue to be healthy when they get out. You know.
Oh, that's good. I like hearing that people are thinking about what are you doing outside the service, right? So that's what anytime I talk to people in the military, I'm like, what are you doing when you get out? And they're always
Yeah.
like, like, yeah, you have to plan for that. You're
Yeah,
not going
you
to be
can't
in
just get out and
forever.
retire. Yeah, you can't. Well, and
No,
we're not drawing retirement anymore. Retirement doesn't happen when you're 38. You can't just retire and collect all that money. It doesn't work like that anymore. It
really?
hasn't worked like that in years. Yeah, that's why I got out. I'm like, what's the
When?
point? I get out at 38. I'm not going to be able to collect that money until I'm 65. What's the point? There's no
Yeah,
point. So just get
that's
out
ridiculous.
now. Yeah. There's no point.
Wow, I had no idea. That
Hmm.
sucks. Well, I'm glad I lived my life the way I did, I guess.
Exactly. See, no
I'd be
regrets.
screwed.
No regrets at all.
Well,
No, but
the
these
funny
kids
thing
are
is,
great, man.
yeah, no, that's amazing. And are you working with mainly Army?
No, I still work with the Air Force. I'm on an Army installation, and so they actually have very high intensity training. They're at the gym all day. They're at the pool sometimes. They hike around the base all day long with 100 pounds on their back, and so they're gonna break. They're those guys that fast rope out of helicopters, and they're gonna break. And so our job is to help them prevent the breaking and to realize that if you do break, you still have to push on as a human being, even if you can't, fast rope out of helicopters anymore because you have a broken back. And some of us who work there are broken back veterans, and we're fine. And we teach them, hey, you can still work out, you can still do your whole job as a civilian and not be in anymore and still go to the gym all the time and be healthy. And they see that in us. I mean, we're twice their age. Some of us, I got a 73-year-old guy at work who still is at the gym and can outrun any of them. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it has to do with just staying mobile, right? A lot of vets get out of the military and they stop working out, and you wonder why your body breaks down because
Yeah.
body emotion stays in motion. You gotta keep working out.
Yes, exactly. And even some of the older guys who are master sergeants now, I can hear them, "Oh, I just turned 35, I'm broken." No, what? No, you're just starting. You're just starting.
It's so
So,
weird to think like E8s and E9s that I know that
that
are
are
like
younger
in their
than us.
30s and like early 40s, and it's just like, God, you guys seem so old to me when I was in, and now it's just like, yeah, they're like my age. It's
Can you
so strange.
imagine deploying? One of my friends just deployed. I'm like, "Oh God." If I had to deploy right now, I'd be like, "Oh, hell no. Don't make
Nah,
me pack bags and leave." That's
I'm good.
ridiculous.
No thanks.
Yeah.
It was funny. I
So,
was talking to a friend of mine. I have some friends that decided to go be cowboys over in Ukraine,
oh
and
Lord.
I'm just like, you guys are nuts, man. Like, you want to come? I'm like, no, I have
No.
no interest in going overseas again to fight. No
Yeah,
thanks. The
yeah,
only fighting I'm doing is in jiu-jitsu. That's about it. But
exactly.
yeah, I couldn't do that shit anymore. I tell people all the time, we got to stop, living in the past, and we have to start
Yes.
realizing that you can be proud of what you've done, but move on and leave it behind you. And that's
Exactly.
why I
And you
keep
can
telling people
take those
stop.
lessons learned too and bring them with you, but you don't
Exactly.
have to repeat the cycle over and over again because that just gets you in kind of a rut.
Well, that and live in the whole like, well, I'm a veteran, so I'm crabby. I'm a veteran and I'm this. It's like, stop it, right?
Yeah.
You're just, who are you? I ask people all the time, like, who are you? Well, I'm an Army veteran. Like, I don't give a shit, like, what branch you served in. Who are you? Like, what are you doing now? What are you doing tomorrow? We'll talk about military stuff. Sure, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I loved my time in the military. I love deploying. I love being a 50 cal gunner, but that means nothing compared to what I've done with Warriors Next Adventure. I'm so proud of what I do now. Um, the military is just a little plop in the past now.
Well, and what a lot of guys don't see themselves doing is making an impact after they get out. They
Hmm.
don't see them being part of something big anymore. And so they get real real funky and depressed and miserable about it. And I mean, you're completely over the top with what you've done and having a
Yeah.
purpose, but some of us, you know, we if you find a little thing that helps, and my little thing is just being a medic for, you know, a tech school. I mean, I
Mhm.
see every guy who comes through that program, and every one of them has issues and stories and goals, and you know, and the cadre, and it's just really amazing to see them. And even if you just impact that career field, I mean, that's a purpose. It's nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm actually working on getting a speech to Minot. It was like guaranteed, and then I guess
Yeah,
the commander got weird about it. And like, well, we want to bring somebody big in, like, you know, we've had a lot of suicides and blah blah blah. I was like, well, okay,
you're the
what's the
guy. Yeah,
definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something different, right? So
yeah.
mix it up a little bit. Bring me
And they're
in,
bringing
right?
in Grossman, because Grossman, he's been traveling around lately.
I'm not sure.
You don't know.
I don't. Who is that?
He's a psych doc. He's been retired for a million years now, since '97. He's got a couple books out about combat stress and you know, prevention and stuff. He's
What's his
really,
name
really
one more
smart.
time?
Lieutenant Colonel Grossman. I think
Bring
his
him
first
up.
name is David. I forget. But he's got a couple
I don't have
books
a Joe Rogan Jamie, so I do this shit myself.
out. But he's been making the rounds on moral injury and how to prevent it, and resiliency and stuff. He was down at
Nice.
Lackland twice. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have similar stances on what we do. And he's actually, yeah, I'm gonna have to get a hold of him.
Well, what I
Cool.
found was a couple of the cadre guys were angry about him talking, because even me personally love to listen to him. I read his books. I think he's amazing, but he's not a combat veteran. And so they automatically throw him in the garbage because of it. And I
Hmm.
don't think that's fair, but having someone like you who's, you know, who's a Iraq, Afghanistan, you know, veteran is way more sometimes impactful to these guys.
Well, it's the relatability. There's a lot of veterans and military that get pretty hard headed and close anyone off who hasn't been through what they've been through. But the
Yeah.
way that I kind of help people realize that we're all pretty similar is the only difference in trauma is the experience, right? The way we process in our brains is pretty similar. You know, me and you could have two totally different traumatic experiences, completely different, and be reacting exactly the same, right? Because
Yes.
trauma, you know, obviously trauma can have like higher levels of anxiety, lower levels of anxiety, you know, depression. There's different ways that it can happen, but most of it is processed in the brain exactly the same.
Yes.
And you know, a civilian who's never been to war but has been in a car accident, which a lot of people don't realize, the number one leading cause of PTSD is car accidents.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot more civilians walking around with PTSD than there are veterans.
Well,
And
and if you look at people like us in our career field as 911 first responders,
mm,
I mean, our people, sometimes you see them, they just deal until they die. I mean, they retire and the next day these firemen are dead.
mhm.
And these combat veterans don't realize that their 30, 40 years experience of this just evil, traumatic head, you know, just everything you can imagine is their whole life. It's their everyday. You know, it
Mhm.
wasn't just one incident or one deployment. It's every single day for 40 years. And they have that clout behind them that can relate absolutely immediately.
Yeah, it's especially with law enforcement, you know, being a
Mhm.
911 dispatcher for the state patrol for 8 years. Um, I've experienced more with the state patrol that's traumatizing than I did with the military. You know,
Yes.
I can't tell you the amount of times I've listened to people die on the phone. I can't tell you how many people I watched jump off of bridges,
Yes.
you know, pulling bodies out of rivers and stuff like that. Like we have access to the traffic cameras. We actually saw that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I watched a car full of 4 children, you know,
Just get obliterated.
drowned inside of a pond because the mom got out and swam to safety and just left her kids in there, right?
Yeah.
So like that's kind of shit that you see, right?
And it's
And so
every
any
day, and you just go home and act like
Mhm.
nothing happened. I mean, and
Yeah,
that's what we, yeah, and that's horrible on a person's system as much
yeah.
as combat is.
Well,
And
especially when
so
you go to the bar and get hammered to try to forget it at at the end of the day too. So I mean, that's why I push no alcohol on people so often, you know.
it's hard. Yeah, alcohol doesn't help; it makes it worse, believe it or not. And people don't realize that, because immediately it feels better, but the next day, I mean, on and on and on. I don't
Yeah,
drink.
and I've quit multiple times. You know, obviously after 2015, my little adventure, I quit for a while, and then as an MMA fighter, like I was just like, screw it, I want to have a few drinks, and I was fine.
Yeah,
And I
good.
realized I got rid of the addiction aspect of alcohol.
Good.
I could still go off on a binger and go crazy. I know I could, but I control myself now.
That's
I've realized that I have control of it. There's nothing that controls me but me. And I just take my addictive personality and put it towards things that actually help me, like projects and stuff.
Yes.
Like I tell people all the
Can
time.
can
Go
you
ahead.
pinpoint at what point or when did you realize that you could control the alcohol versus the alcohol controlling you?
Well, I was an alcoholic from 2008 until about 2015. I tried to quit in 2014 because I was training jujitsu, and I realized that it was I was a stinky kid. I always smelled like alcohol, and so I'm just like,
Oh,
well, I gotta quit, And 2015, after my suicide attempt, I was just like, I wasn't drinking when I did it. I was conscious and aware. I had made that decision myself that I was just going to end it. Lucky for me, it didn't work. And then after that, I'm like, well, I'm going to take some time off of drinking because I didn't know. Um, and then I was going through my divorce, and I spilled a few times, and I get to drinking. My problem is I don't want to drink all the time, but when I do drink, I drink a lot, like 20, 30 shots. I just keep throwing them back, throwing them back, throwing them back, and I get as drunk as fast as I can. That's always been my fix. Like I've never been the person that needs to drink every single day, but when I do drink, it's just I just
sure.
can't stop. And I want to say up until 2016 or so, I was drinking a little bit more here and there because my ex-wife she drank a lot. And then 2020, I decided to just quit, and I quit for a year and a half. And then
Oh,
one day, I just decided I really want a beer, and so I drank a beer, and I'm like, I'm just gonna have one. And so,
and it worked.
yeah, I just started realizing I'm just gonna have one.
Beautiful.
I've let loose like once or twice. The guys that I'm rowing across the ocean with, every time we get together, we polish off a bottle together because it's we're about to
Well,
do something absolutely crazy together.
and if it's social, I mean, you know, sometimes the social part is okay.
Yeah, and
Meet
I
some
have no issues with
friends.
that. Like I'm not telling recovered alcoholics to go try to drink one drink or anything like that. I'm not saying that. So do not listen to me in that sense. I just know now that if I want to go out and have a shot or two, I can. If I want to go
Yeah,
have a beer or two, I can.
that's excellent.
I just don't really choose to. Even when I get cravings, I just drink water.
That's
But
hey, the medic says that's where it's at.
I know, right? And rip it.
Well, no. I heard you in the beginning. I thought, no, Nick, don't tell me you drank a bunch of Rippets and you had heart palpitations. Please don't say that. Oh,
I
Lord.
don't have heart palpitations anymore.
Anymore?
No, I had them for a little bit, but that was I actually realized that a lot of that had to do with stress and anxiety from PTSD, and it was
Oh,
causing
wow.
heart palpitations. It was so bad.
And what did you do to overcome it?
Um,
The
well,
palpitations.
um, I don't even know.
Hmm.
I mean, I actually haven't announced this yet because I was going to kind of hold it for quite a while just to make sure. But I've been on Prozac the last 3 months,
Yeah.
and
You
I'll be
like it? Is it
honest with
helping?
I I've never been better.
Nice.
Never.
Perfect.
Um,
Good.
Many people know that, I suffer from suicidal ideations. Even now, even being healthy, I still
You
struggle
think?
with it,
Yeah.
because the first time I contemplated suicide was when I was 9 years old, just because of my stepdad and the way that I was born and getting beat up by adults all the time. Um,
Do it.
this is the best I've felt for a long time. Um,
Good.
I don't have anxiety attacks anymore. I haven't had an anxiety attack in like 4 months.
Wow.
Um, I haven't had a panic attack. Yeah, like 3 months, 4 months. Um, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want it to be like what's it called when they give you a fake pill? The
Oh, yeah.
placebo effect.
Placebo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be a placebo thing. I wanted to make sure it was actually working. And I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, you should always try to fix yourself without drugs. You should always try, right? But if it's not working, maybe try something different. And the guy who prescribed the drugs to me was actually Air Force Security Forces. He got out and became a therapist.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it was a good connection. And I was a little reluctant to say anything just because I don't ever want anybody thinking that I'm promoting anything. I'm not
Right.
promoting Prozac. I'm not promoting drugs, but I'm just saying that I finally found something that's actually working for me. When I was on
Oh, that's
Zoloft, I wanted to
excellent.
kill myself all the time, super depressed. And like now, me and my girlfriend don't argue anymore. I'm super low stress. You
Nice.
know, yeah, and I
Good.
got a lot of projects going on too. So I'm still doing all the same things.
You
I
still have
have
the
no
same
anxiety.
energy. Good.
Yeah,
I
it's
had
great.
one of my main teachers, she was like the assistant dean of the rec therapy program. She was the best. She just taught us everything. But she told us one day that she was on Prozac too.
Hmm.
And everyone kind of got quiet about it. And she goes, guys, it's like you're living life, and everything you do in life is difficult. Everything you do, from reading to concentrating to raising your children to cooking dinner, is difficult. And then suddenly you get put on Prozac, and everything becomes about 50% easier in life. Why
Hmm.
would you deny yourself that if it works? You know, and she said the same thing. Other drugs didn't work, so you just don't take. You just stop. You tell your doctor it's not good, and maybe there is a drug out there that will help. I mean, we have these conditions of just adrenaline overload. Is
Yeah.
there a drug out there that can help us slow it down as we're trying to help ourselves slow it down? You know, and it just makes life that much. It's like wearing glasses because you can't see. It's
Hmm.
just easier now, and so it shouldn't be stigmatized at all. And if it
No.
works, then use it. But yeah, but never sit back and let the drugs work for you. You got to work with the drugs.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like
Mhm.
drugs, therapists, recreational therapists, me, we're all just tools, right? You have to do the healing
Yes.
yourself. It has to be you.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been healing for a lot of years, and I still had that anxiety, and I was like, God damn, what is going on? And ever since I've been taking those, it's helped. It's helped a
Oh,
lot,
that's great.
you know?
That's great.
Yeah, I'm pretty
And
happy.
maybe now you can step over. I was a pain patient for 10 years. I broke my neck in the military. And that pain was 6 to 8 out of 10 for 10 years. And I finally broke down and got me a muscle relaxer. And on the muscle relaxer, I went to physical therapy, and now I'm at a zero pain. And I've been at a zero pain
Well,
for 4 years because of that one little episode that I took a Flexerol on top of physical therapy. And I don't take anything. I don't even take Motrin anymore.
nice.
Yeah, so it does. I mean, sometimes you just got to add that little bit to get over that hump, and then you're good.
Well, I think too many people rely on that stuff to heal them, like you said earlier.
Yes.
You
They're
can't.
passive. Yeah, they're passive about it. Oh, this will no, it's not a cure.
This will
It's
make me
true.
better, but I'm going to still sit in my room and do nothing all day. I'm going to do nothing physical. I'm going to talk to nobody and just hope these pills help me. No,
No, yeah.
you will not get better that way. I promise you.
They hope
Um,
for the rapture or something. I hear that a lot. Oh, they're gonna come. What? What?
yeah.
No, live your life, guys. Let's go have some fun.
Well, I tell everybody you should have a few different types of hobbies, right? You should have a hobby
Mhm.
that makes you money. You should have a hobby that fulfills your passion or your purpose, and you should have a hobby that involves fitness. You should have three
Yes.
separate hobbies, right? I got like 45. I don't know, but they all kind of circle around those same things. Like the wolf dog. I love
Yes.
animals so much, and they cause happiness, and there's a lot of passion involved in that.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of fitness involved too, because you're running away from wolves trying to bite you in the ass. It's good PT.
It's funny.
Like the race cars, stuff like that. There's all of these different things. And, through doing all these things with Warriors Next Adventure, the reason why I try to get people to come get involved with us is like, I've created businesses based off of what I've been doing with Warriors Next Adventure, right? Completely separate from WNA, but
Yeah.
I learned it all through the nonprofit, and I'm teaching people the same thing. Look, you can love doing these things. They're fun, but you can also learn how to make money with a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff that I'm teaching you.
Well, and they're giving
You know?
back, and when you give back to others, I mean, that in and of itself is super rewarding if you have nothing
Mhm.
else in life. If you can give to somebody and make a difference to that person, I mean, sometimes that in itself makes your ego just soar. So you can,
Oh,
hey, I have
100%.
purpose. Hey, this is great. So
I call it a healthy selfishness. It's a very healthy selfishness involved in the nonprofit world. And
yeah,
if I didn't get something out of this, I wouldn't do it. To be honest,
right.
I wouldn't do it. You know, but when I get a veteran, that reaches out to me on the suicide hotline, and a lot of people still can't believe that I take my time to do that and I don't get paid for it. It's like, well, there's a passion, right? That's the passion in me. I love doing this. I love helping people at the worst of their times. But then I get to watch that person on Facebook slowly start to comment better things, right? They start to post happier thoughts. They start to post like inspirational quotes and stuff like that, and like, hey, I got a new job, and
Wow.
that's my happiness. I get to steal
Yeah.
that from them.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And that's where it is. That's where it should be. That's perfect. When you see that result, I mean, as a first responder, we don't see it. First responder, we either see them carted off away to the hospital or carted off away to jail or dead, and there's no bonus afterwards. And it just takes a toll. It takes an absolute toll on us. So that's really, really cool.
That was the hard thing is dispatch, is not knowing the results. That
Yeah.
always bothered
Nobody
me.
knows. None of us know. Paramedics don't know either. We're like, oh, I don't know. He's in there now.
I just always assumed like, yeah, they got better. I just left it at that in my head. I never really dug.
That's good.
I don't want to know. But yeah, so you got another minute or two here. Why don't you go ahead and plug what you do, who you are, and how people can contact you?
So my name is Stacey Kean. I am a recreation therapist and paramedic. Military now, medic for, active duty 9 years, contract GS for another 12. And what I'm doing now is I am taking veterans and first responders, and I'm helping them get over the fact that they're now just kind of hanging out in life. Maybe they don't have the job they want. Maybe they don't have the social support they want. Maybe they're not doing the physical activities they want. And I help push through that mental wall to get them to do what they want to do. Whether it's a mental wall or a physical disability wall, we can get through it and get you to do what you want to do again, whether it be, hiking, skydiving, basketball, anything you want to do, we can make it happen. Just call me. Right now, I just have the Facebook page, Recreation Experiences with an X. There's no E in it, so it stands for RX. I'll have the website up and running in the next month or so, but that's where you can find me, Recreation Experiences.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And just so everybody knows, it's in the comments as well. You can just click on that, go over there, go follow and like her Facebook page. If you enjoyed this interview, leave a review on her page, right? That people don't understand how useful reviews are, right? So if you enjoyed something about this, please go leave a review. Stacey, it was great talking to you again. Don't go anywhere. Just go ahead and sit in the background for a minute, and
Okay.
I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Like I said, next week we're going to have Bryant Knight from Fight or Die. He was the founder and also rode back in 2018, and he's helping us get prepared to row across the ocean in December. Myself and 3 other Air Force veterans will be the first all Air Force American team to row a boat across the ocean. It's a 28-foot rowboat, and we'll be rowing for 2 hours on, 2 hours off, and likely we're trying to do it in about 49 days. If we do it in 49 days, we'll break about 3 world records, and I likely will break a world record for being the first one with testicular cancer to actually make it across. So that'd be cool. But yeah, you guys can check out all this stuff. So you want to check out US Vet Row. That'll be next week. And then Zach Pennington is going to be on the 27th. He is an artist. He's a guitarist. He's got some beautiful tattoo work he's done on his Instagram and everything. I don't know what it is right now, but I'll get it to you guys later. But yeah, so go ahead and check out Warriors Next Adventure. It's a nonprofit that I run for veterans. We got a 24/7 suicide hotline. We help veterans with PTSD and suicide prevention. I'm also a free life coach for veterans. I don't have any fancy letters next to my name, so I can't call myself a counselor or a therapist. But everything that we've done has been working. We've serviced about 30,000 veterans in the last few years, and I don't think I'll be stopping anytime soon. Also, go check out Houses for Warriors. It's one that Andrew Canellis, my co-host, runs. They're over in Evergreen, Colorado. They have a group home in Denver, Colorado. I actually think it's Lakeland. It's right next to Colorado. Or I'm sorry, right next to Denver. But they can service up to, I think, about eight veterans off the streets. They just have to follow a few guidelines like sobriety house and stuff like that. They also help them learn new skills to get them off on their own. So it's an amazing program. Those guys are doing awesome things. So go check out House for Warriors and go check out Warriors Next Adventure. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Again, thank you to KGRA for putting us on the air. I appreciate you guys. And I will see you guys next week.
Perfect.